Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Oakwalker, and I'm here with my friend Frank Stronghorse Caldwell, and we are here for Earth Medicine for the Soul podcast. And today we're going to start it off with a little bit more of talk about getting out of your own way. I think, Frank, Stronghorse, you have better grasp of how you want to run this down today. So I'm going to let you call in or start in and just go for a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about our last conversation, and we were talking about how to get out of your way, particularly in terms of being able to allow God's grace to flow through you, and
Uh-huh.
um so we were kind of elevating our conversation up, and I got to thinking, we probably need to maybe talk about it a little bit more in terms of what does that look like on a daily basis? How do people shift their behavioral patterns to be able to accommodate that kind of requirement? And so I started trying to run that through my brain as in terms of what does that look like for me? And I think it sort of opened up a can of worms.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, there's that, and you know, uh, I guess so. I'm just gonna pick one. We can start out with that. I think fear. That because mainly because I think that's just a really big, huge controlling issue right now. Trying to get people into their fear-based instincts and in order to rob them of their free will,
Uh-huh.
and so I find that is something we need to maybe tackle. Uh, and from my standpoint, I guess I see it as when facing your fears are really when you come up against something that you typically might recoil from or avoid or distract yourself from, that you stop and go, okay, well, I'm going to push through this, and for those of us who have on a shamanic path, I mean, that's a vital ingredient. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you come up through situations that most people wouldn't even consider facing, much less actually going out and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so so it's like once you're able to sort of face your fears on this level, the ones that you accomplish or you face up on a day-to-day basis become easier to handle. You don't become as reactionary to them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different ways that we can look at this and talk about it. But for instance, I think there's one way would be fear of success.
Oh, that's a good
You
one.
know, there's there's fear of failure, but there's also fear of success. I mean, you consider talk about creating the natural place in order to be able to allow God's grace to flow through you. But do you really feel that you're worthy of that? And I think a lot of people come up against that.
Oh, I'm still coming up against it pretty much all the time. In fact, I'm having a brand new big resurgence of those kind of feelings that I'm dealing with right now. Even after I feel like I'm an experienced practitioner, I think we continually go down through level after level or up the spiral, however you want to look at that. And we hit it again and again on different levels of complexity, you know. Um,
I just lost
so
a picture.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I wonder if we're having internet troubles because everything looks good from this end. Anyway, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's
Oh, there
see.
it is. Okay.
Did we talk about the resolute acceptance of death last week?
I don't think so.
No, so
I
that's
mean,
a
maybe the
okay.
week
So
before we did.
maybe we did, but let's get back to that because it all kind of starts from there. That's the highest level uh, area where you hit this place in your mind and in your heart, and it has to be both, where once you really accept the fact that you're here temporarily, that you're here, that this is a transitory experience, you're a spirit inside of a body, or you're a consciousness inside of a meat puppet. And once you come to the serious realization of that and the acceptance of that, it's the acceptance of it, then you're not so easily manipulable anymore. And I think we touched on that. But then again, when we start talking about it on a daily basis, that's one of the things that we're constantly going back to and referring to. Um, because at that point, the things that we fear, it's easier to get the overview of them so that we're looking down on this thing that we're fearing, and it's no longer as much of an obstacle as it is just a little thing we got to step over, you know? It's kind of
Mhm.
it takes on a much smaller dimension, if you will. And so I use personally kind of a few little mental exercises for that, such as starting the day by grounding my energies, um, putting myself in that path of creativity and that grounded and also the celestial connection. That when I put those together, I feel like I'm right there in the middle of those two things. And then that's kind of a celestial balance that I give myself. So I
Mhm.
don't feel like the things that I am afraid of are as are as big of obstacles. There was a word I was looking for, but I didn't get it. Um, Insurmountable, I think, was the word that I was looking
Right,
for.
right, right. Um, Well, yeah, that I guess in our teachings, and because my teacher was a master at martial arts, he always
Mhm.
talked about the one point. He was like, you have to keep your focus on your one point, or because that's your place of power.
Yeah.
And if you're holding that center, you can't be you can't be knocked off of it.
Uh-huh.
But if you don't have that concentration, that focus of intention, then you're pliable. You can be
Yeah.
knocked off center.
Yeah. You're
In
movable.
yeah, in numerous ways.
Mhm.
Well, I'll share with you a personal story that's kind of that was a real big teaching for me, and so I drove a cab in Austin for about 3 years, and
Mhm.
when I first started, I'm doing 12, 13, 14 hours a day out in this traffic, and it was insane. I mean, the drivers and what the stuff I'd run into, and I was, and so I was very reactionary, and I would be screaming and flipping people, and one of the other drivers saw me one time, and he came and he says, "Man, you can't do that." And I said, "What?" And he says, "You're a professional driver. You can't be just flipping people off and all that." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well that makes sense." And so. And so I started driving and just not letting them get to me, And what I noticed was a dramatic decline in the number of crazy drivers I ran into. And
There
I
you
thought, well,
have it.
that's weird, And so I decided to test it, being the, you know,
Tester.
good
Yeah.
shaman that I am, And so I started cussing them out, you know, flipping people off, and sure enough, it picked up. And I
Uh-huh.
thought, well, that's amazing. And so then I backed off again, and it started decreasing, and I was like, wow, I mean, it was just there was a real, honest to God test there of facing your fear in terms of getting a handle on it, and not
Uh-huh.
not allowing those other people or those other reactionary people to impact you so that you can hold your space. And
Yeah.
when you do, th- the universe reacts to that. And it was, so this wasn't, I'm not speculating here. I was doing that specifically as a trial and
Oh
error.
yeah.
And it worked, so I was like, man, that's really interesting.
Yeah, that was a real world test, and it's one of those that I think just about all shaman have to go through in order to finally decide that this stuff is actually, there's really something to this. Because if it
Right.
doesn't work, what did Oscar used to say? If it doesn't grow corn and potatoes, then what good is it, right? If it
Right.
doesn't work, then there's no point in continuing the process of going deeper and deeper into that shamanic journey. Um, shit, I just lost it. So
Well,
yeah.
I think it's, you know, the, I mean, if you're gonna make the transition into spirit,
Hmm.
it's like I was in a crystal shop over in Austin recently, and I was doing something. And this kid started asking me questions, and I told him, yeah, I'm on a shamanic path, and he was like, oh, he says, I'd really like to do that. I've always wanted to study that, and I said, I looked at him, I said, well, it's dangerous. Yeah, he kind of backed up because I mean, I could see what he wanted the label so he could go impress people, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what he was looking for. He was looking for the brand, and I said, well, I'm glad to help you out, but it's dangerous. He's like, man, he wasn't expecting that,
Uh-huh.
but it is, and it's dangerous because you get challenged on every levels that and levels you never even imagined.
Yeah.
you know, and so it's up to you. Do you or you? I mean, I think you have to have something inside of yourself going in that says, "Yeah, I'll take this on."
Hmm. Yeah,
You know,
it's truly a calling. It's so, it's like, okay, I want to learn the guitar so chicks will dig me. It's not that kind of a thing. It's truly a calling. We used to make jokes around the circles, like if they had told me what I was getting into,
right,
you know,
right,
I I would not have
right,
done this.
right. Yeah, we say the same thing. Like next time I'm reading the contract.
Right? It's like, how do you make
I'm
an
reading the fine
advertisement for that?
print.
It's like, hey, we got this great thing for you. We call it the shamanic path,
Right.
and all you have to do is like decimate yourself, disassemble yourself, completely explode yourself till everything that you thought
Right.
you knew is no longer true, and then go ahead and be happy.
And reconstruct yourself.
Right? Yeah, rebuild all that stuff, and then everything's going to be great after that. And
Right. 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 Right.
and the fact is that there's some truth to that, in that I feel stronger. I can reach higher levels of happiness, and and I'm not as, getting back to fear, I'm not as reactive towards the things I'm afraid of, but I still am some, and I'm not perfect, and I'm still being challenged, and I'm still getting down deeper and deeper and deeper into levels of that very deconstruction that are necessary to allow to shed the light on the good parts of myself that I can then therefore enjoy. But it's not an easy process.
No, it's not. But and you're right. I mean, it's okay. Well, let me share this just interesting story that this kind of going out there. But uh, I'm going to tell you about the time that I made death an ally. Okay.
Hmm.
When I was a kid, and I say kid, I was probably maybe 15, 16, 17 years old, something like that. I was in with my family on vacation in a resort outside of Acapulco, and I stepped on a Monterey, a stingray, and he
Hmm.
put a barb in my heel,
Yeah.
and and almost killed me. I mean, I shrunk up, my hands froze, I paralyzed, I couldn't breathe.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I thought, well, here we go, this is it,
Yeah, he
and
got you good.
yeah, real good. And so they got me to a clinic, which they happened to have on site because the place was still under construction and they needed to have a doctor and a clinic on site to treat the knife fights the Mexicans were getting into. And
Uh-huh.
so they took me in there and treated me. And so fast forward several years later, I'm in with a friend of mine, and we're on Baja, okay,
Uh-huh.
and we're camped out on Baja, and I'm walking around, and I come up on this very shallow, large bay, and there are thousands of stingray manta rays in there in the sand.
Hmm.
And for some weird reason, I decided, okay, I'm going to walk across this thing, which knowing that if I get stung, I'm probably done because I mean, we were really isolated. There was nobody around. Okay.
Hmm.
So I entered into the waters, but I did know that if you shuffle your feet,
Yeah.
they get out of the way.
Yeah.
Right. So I just took maybe 15, 20 minutes and just slowly shuffled my feet across and walked across this bay and they all, they all got out of the way. And I think at that point, death uh, gave me respect.
Uh-huh.
I earned the respect of death. And so it became an ally for me. And I didn't know at the time. It wasn't like I was standing at the bay going, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make death an ally. I'm
Right.
going to it just, I, I just instinctively thought this is something I need to do. I'm going to
Hmm.
face this fear
Yeah.
because I think that's the thing about a shamanic path. When you get on, you're like, if you're really truly a warrior, you go looking for things that will test your abilities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And because if you're not willing to develop those aspects within yourself, there's no sense of being on the path,
Hmm.
And
There.
so I just took it as a personal challenge, and it completely shifted my relationship with death.
Hmm.
I mean, I've had other people comment say, "Well, I don't think you're afraid of death at all." I'm like, no, not really.
No, yeah, that's just it. I mean, people can't bully you anymore once you can say, so what are you going to do? Kill me?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? I don't even feel like, so yeah, I eventually came to the conclusion that since I am a spirit having a bodily experience, that death isn't really death anyway.
right.
It's just the end of this particular phase of my existence. But it doesn't mean that I'm actually destroyed or that I will no longer have consciousness. I don't even think that I'm going to be a non-entity anymore once I transition over into that other reality. I can tell you, however, though, that still even to this day, when I'm struggling to breathe, for example, or when I think that death is imminent, I'm still scared. I mean, it's still scary. You have to look at it and go, well, yeah, it's still scary. I don't know
Yeah,
what's
no, I
going.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it would, uh, I don't know that I have a choice in how I go, but I would like to be very quick and
Yeah, me
thorough,
too. Yeah.
so that because I do feel that, I mean, well, the way it was described to me by my teacher is that all your shields and everything implode into your one point, and then you travel out your soul vine,
Hmm.
and then you find yourself in a whole nother virtual reality, a whole nother dimension. And
Uh-huh.
then your guides are there to meet you, and the people that your families, the people that you love that love you, they're all there, and so
Hmm.
you find yourself in a hugely loving, embracing, welcoming energy, which
Yeah.
immediately takes care of the fear. Um, so I mean, if you look at it in terms of something that would actually be exciting, it's going to be an exciting, expansive, loving journey. That's my take on
Yeah. So they say. Um,
it. They say, yeah,
I mean, I've met some people who have died. I am not one of those people who have, had a near-death experience and come back from the other side, although I've been mighty close at times. And but the people who have been, like literally dead, say things that are very interesting to me. And it's like there's always a sense that they were not frightened. They were just basically sitting in the same room, but everybody was
Right.
gone. you know,
Right.
I was like,
Right.
oh yeah, I was just hanging my legs off the edge of the gurney there in the hospital room, and I couldn't see anybody else, but there I was, and everything was fine, and then boom, I came back. And
So I think the way that translates in a day-to-day basis is that if you conquer that fear, you accept death is that a is a in that premise on a day-to-day level, you develop a sense of patience.
yeah, and
You
I
know what I
also
mean?
think, yeah, and I also think that there's that all makes it easier for you to feel like you're stepping aside from your body, if you will. And that's one of the ways I think of myself as getting out of the way, is allowing spirit to be coming through me, because I am not as attached to my body as I used to be. So I can just sort of feel like I'm stepping aside and give, God or the Great Spirit, or, all of that, the permission and the allowance to just funnel and channel through. And I do
Yeah,
think
Black
that,
Elk calls that becoming the hollow bone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that one.
Yeah. And so I think that in terms of day-to-day level, that if we can really find a way to become the hollow bone, to recess ourselves from the day-to-day grind of, that we emerge ourselves in to keep this physicality thing going on.
Yeah,
Um, it has the same impact, I think, as my story about the cab driver.
yeah.
You know, because once you do that, once you take that state stance, you open yourself up to being receptive to a whole new dimension of reality.
hmm
And when you do that, the universe responds to you,
hmm
and
Yeah.
it provides opportunity to you because it knows you can handle it.
Yes.
It's
I.
not, it's like, all right, we think he's ready or she's ready. They've done some work. Let's provide them with some other doorways or portals or opportunities and see if they're willing to step through and take it on. And some do, some don't.
hmm
That's your exercise of free will. But the free will can't be exercised if you're constantly bogging yourself down with the fear of death or the fear
hmm
of success or the fear of failure.
hmm
If you're constantly in this self-judgment thing, you can't exercise your free will.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Well, I think that you've given it up, right? Because now you're the one you're being controlled instead of accomplishing control. And free will is basically your control mechanism, isn't it? So, gosh, we're just onto something. This is going to go far. We're going to have to continue this discussion over another couple of episodes, because we've just opened up a huge bag of worms as far as how many things I want to talk about related to this. Um,
Yeah, I'm game for that. That's a good idea. If you'll hold that, we'll just move that into the next segment and
yeah.
invite people to follow us because we're trying to keep these segments fairly short and concise so that people
hmm
are able to take them in without becoming burdened with too much information. Um,
Yeah. Or
so,
just
you know,
basically impatient.
yeah, yeah, right, right.
So yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that I want to just kind of move on and keep touching on this stuff. I like patience is one of them, because patience is required for running those real world tests. Everybody wants their answers to come right now, and that's just not the way things work. So let's move forward into a lot of these different aspects of getting ourselves out of the way, and then we can start to expand on them, like maybe one by one in the next few episodes. Because you hit it
That's
here. This
great.
is a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Patience has always been, it's like, patience and sweetness. Those are two of my biggest boogies because I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand what, you know, I'm always like, let's just get after it. Like, no, let's have some patience, man.
Yeah,
Let it unfold. What's going to unfold?
right. The heck with your patience. I'm out of here.
Heck with your patience, like the two buzzards sitting on the limb. If something doesn't die soon, I'm going to kill it.
Oh, excuse
Uh,
me. Well, okay, let's close this one off then, because we've reached such an excellent stopping point. It's also a jumping off, and things are going to be looking much better as we move forward. So thank you, Mr. Stronghorse, for being with me for
Thank
this
you,
amount of
Walker.
time.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll see you on the rebound.
Okay, we'll be there. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.